Hello, friends. It's Susan Bruck, and it's springtime. Um, and in the springtime, the little birdies lay their eggs, and we celebrate all sorts of springtime holidays about the renewal of life. So, to celebrate that, today we're going to make some felted Easter eggs, springtime eggs, whatever you want prefer. Here's a this one. Here's a finished one that might have held a little baby bird or some other kind of special treasure. Who knows? So we're gonna make one of those today, and these are the things that you will need: a hollow plastic Easter egg. Um, Although I have made them with solid wooden Easter eggs too, if you happen to have one of those around. And then you will need some plain white wool and some little bits of colored wool. These are all wool fleece, and I just wanted to let you know, like in case you haven't done felting before, there's different kinds of wool, and we're not going to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about it very much, but you want to use wool that has like really short hair, because this one, for example, this is long hair. It's really hard to felt. It doesn't work very well. So anyway, so we're not using that. So I have the egg, I have some wool fleece, I have a bowl of hot water, and some dish soap. You can use any kind of soap, really. And I have a sock and a piece of yarn for later. So this is what you do. You take your egg, and we're gonna wrap it in the white wool. So you pull off a piece, it doesn't have to be that exact, but a hand-sized piece is easy to handle, haha. And hold it against the egg and wrap it around. And it's a little slippery. The egg's a little slippery because it's made out of plastic, but you want to wrap it kind of tightly, and you want to wrap it completely. So I don't know how well you can see that. You can still see the pink egg through the fleece. So I want to put on a little bit more. So I have another hand size. Actually, I'll make it a little smaller. Another little hand size piece. This time I'm gonna fluff it out a little bit first with my fingers, and then I'm gonna wrap it. I'm kind of stretching it and wrapping it around the other way. And then when I get it around, all the way around, I pull the end out and kind of lose it in the other one. So see, now I don't have, in that part, I don't have to hold on to it. It just stays by itself. And I'm going to keep stretching all the ends around until I have it all wrapped. And this doesn't really take too long, but it's best to do it carefully. So I still see a little pink here. It's pretty thin. You want to have at least 1/4 of an inch, maybe a little more, of wool around it. So I'm wrapping around now the places where it's kind of thin, and tucking in the ends. And I still have a little thin spot here, so I'm going to put a bit more wool on. And there. It's looking like it's pretty well wrapped now. And it doesn't, if there's little ends hanging out, it doesn't really matter. They're going to get felted in pretty quickly. So now I have my little wrapped egg. It's looking a little lumpy, but that's okay. And I'm going to take some little bits of the colored wool, and again, just fluff it out a little bit with your fingers. And you can wrap it around in any design that you like. I'm using 2 colors. If you have one color or if you have lots of colors, you can do this however you like. Just know that once it actually gets wet and starts to felt a little bit, you can't really add more wool. It won't stick. If you want to add more wool, you can always needle felt it on later, but that's the only tricky part. So I think I'm gonna put a little more pink on mine, just a bit more, and then we're ready to start the actual felting, which is where the magic happens. I've been doing felting for a long time, and I still think it's amazing when this fluffy wool turns into a solid fabric. So here's my egg. I'm gonna move my computer screen so you can see the water. There's my hot water and my soap. And I wouldn't always use a crystal bowl like this to for felting, but I wanted something that was transparent so you could see a little better. You can use any kind of a bowl or a pan or a tub or a sink, anything, and fill it with hot water, and then you need to be, but you don't want to run it under the sink because this needs to be handled a little bit gently at first. So I'm just going to dip it into the water and get it all wet. And I'm kind of supporting it with my hand, smoothing down the little ends. There may be some little ends that end up sticking out when I'm done. I maybe will trim those off or maybe not. And so then you just put some soap on it. You can also use bar soap, but again, you just want to be gentle. And then I'm just going to pat it a little bit. This is actually starting the felting process. It's the water and the soap and the friction. But at the beginning, you just need to be gentle because otherwise you just push the fibers off and they won't stick. So I'm starting to rub it. I'm rolling this around in my hand, but gently. I'm not applying pressure yet. But you can see it's still it still is kind of fuzzy, but I can feel, maybe you can't see, but it's starting to felt a little bit. So, and there's air in there. That's fine. Don't worry about it. It's going to tighten up as it felts. So it's starting to hold together, and I'm going to start rubbing it a little bit harder, but just a little bit. You have to gradually build up the pressure. And really for it to hold, I like mine to be felted pretty tightly. This one that I showed you already, this one is kind of medium felted. So it doesn't have to be felted a real lot to hold together. But you want to keep felting it until it starts to at least adhere to the egg. So it'll start to tighten up. And so see, mine is really soapy. It's a little too soapy now. I like it really soapy at the beginnings because I want it to slide around, but I'm going to dip it in the water again. It doesn't want to dip because it's got an egg filled with air inside of it, but that's okay. And I'm starting to rub it harder. It's felting more. See that you can see the fibers are still sticking up a little, so it's not done, but less than it was. And so I'm going to keep rubbing, and I'm going to rinse out the soap a little bit more. And now there's not much coming up there, so I feel like I can rub it harder now because it moves around. It's not stuck to the, it's moving around. It hasn't shrunk all the way yet, but it's getting a lot firmer. So, and it's starting to shrink into shape. So now when it starts to take its shape, you can start to rub it harder. You can keep rolling it, or you can do like what I'm doing, just rub it with one hand, keep moving it so you rub all of this. And the children certainly can do this. Um, I'm showing you so you know how. And um, now it's starting to get smaller. It's starting to take the shape of the egg that's inside. Um, I don't know if I told you, maybe I kept this my secret. I do have a towel here. It's good to keep a towel handy or put a big towel underneath, especially if you're doing it with the children. By myself, I may or may not spill the water, and it's still kind of soapy, so I had some plain hot water right here, and you can see it's looking a lot like it will when it's done. It's going to be a little smaller, but you can see how nicely like the colors kind of blend together and there's still some white showing. I'm going to rub it a little bit more. Oh my gosh, I think I put on too much soap to start with. I didn't realize how bubbly the soap was. Um, but that's okay. It's really fun. And if you have littler ones who don't want to do this, you can just give them a little bit of wool, and let them play with the wool and the water and the soap. It's a lot of fun. I did this even in my parent-child classes with kids as young as one, and obviously they're not going to be able to like do an egg and have it come out looking like an egg, but they sure had a lot of fun with the wool and the soap and the water. Um, and that's what it's really about, right? So now, um, there you go. It's pretty much adhered to the egg now. It's just the same shape, and I'm gonna rinse it out. Whoa, it's hard to do this with really soapy hands. I'm gonna rinse it. At this point, if I wasn't doing this in front of my camera, my computer, I would take it and just run it under the sink. But I'm just gonna do this. So then it's still soapy. I would rinse it out more until there's no soap left in it. But I'm going to just show you the final step for now, which is you take your lovely egg, all rinsed and clear, and put it inside of a sock. I'm shaking it all the way down to the toe, and then these are not new socks. You can either tie it in a knot, but it's easier to get out if you use a piece of yarn. So I'm just gonna push this up a little bit. I am just going to, so it's in the sock. I pushed it all the way down to the toe, and I pulled it tight around it, and I'm going to, I wrap the yarn around. I'm going to tie it in a knot, or a bow. Bow is better. Things that are easier to undo are better. And then this can go into the dryer to dry, and that will help it to finish felting, and the sock helps it to hold its shape. You can also let it air dry if you prefer, or you could put it in the dryer, not in a sock, if you want. It still shouldn't change shape too much. Um, and that's all that we are going to do today. When it's dry and ready to go, the next step would be to take a sharp scissors. This would be a grown-up part, and cut a slit and pull out the egg and maybe put in a treasure. I'm not sure if my River Song friends, if we are doing that, or if the teachers want you to bring the eggs to school, they will let you know. But if you're just doing it at home, sorry, can't resist. But if you're just doing it at home, you can do that. A sharp scissors and just a slit big enough to pull out the egg, and then you can put a little treasure inside, and you can stitch it back up if you want, or Um, just put it in a little nest with the cut side down, and then it can crack open, and if some a little baby bird or something can come out. But anyway, there you have it. A nicely felted egg ready to dry and help you to celebrate spring. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions.